Good afternoon, dear class 10 students. Dear students, today onwards we will discuss about the civics portion, and in this portion we will start discussing from chapter 2, that is the president and the vice president. So in this chapter, dear students, we have to discuss only few points, not all. Like for example here, qualification for election of the president, composite of the composition of the electoral college. So let us then start with this particular topic, the president. Before we go to qualification for election of the president, let us talk little bit the introductory part of the president. The president, the executive power of the Indian Union, is vested in the president. So executive part, that means the administrative part of union, we call the center of the country, is vested or handed over into the hand of president. He exercises this power either directly or through all officers of union who are in his subordinate. So he exercises his own power and so on directly or by the support of his own subordinate. Subordinate means we can say his assistants. In accordance with the constitution, that is what the provision given in the constitution, the president is the head of the state, that means the country, state means country, and the supreme commander of defense force of India. So supreme commander of defense force means he is the in charge of the army group. The president exercises his power on the advice of the prime minister. So president would call exercises his own power by the advice of president and the council of ministers. That means he singly cannot decide anything, or he singly cannot make any rule and regulations for the nation. He has to consult to prime minister as well as the council of ministers. The constitution provides that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime minister at the head. So the council of ministers as well as the prime minister of the country is the real ruler of the country. So they are there to advise president in the exercise of his or her function. According to the 42nd Amendment Act, it is necessary for the president to exercise his or her functions in accordance with the advice of the council of ministers. So this is the provision given, whatever powers he exercises or he would call uses, that all things he uses by the advice of the council of ministers. Now qualifications for the election. So what are the qualifications, or we call the eligibility for a person to become the president of the country? So first, as it is saying, a person shall be eligible for election as the president if he first is a citizen of India, that is the first and foremost we call the requirement, qualification. B, he has completed the age of 35 years. And another requirement is that he must complete at least 35 years of age. Number C, is qualified for the election as a member of Lok Sabha, and the person who is contesting for the election of the president, then he also should have qualified for the election of the Lok Sabha. Second, a person shall not be eligible for election as a president. So a person who is contesting for the presidency, he won't be worthy for the presidency election if he holds any office of profit under the government of India. That means if he is having any government job, or he is there in any position, or he is having any ministry, let us say, in the state or in the central level, then in that case he is not eligible for the post. That means if he wants to contest for the presidency election, he has to first leave these all posts which he is having still. However, a person is not deemed to hold an office of profit by reason only that he is president or vice president or a minister either for the union or for any state. A person who holds or who has held office as a president shall be eligible for re-election, and the person who is already a president of the country, the same president can contest for the second time for the re-election or yeah, for the re-election of the, we call the presidency. Now, composition of the electoral college. The president is elected indirectly by the members of the electoral college consisting of. So, who are the members of electoral college? Let us see. First, the elected members of both houses of the parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Number 2, the elected members of the legislative assembly of the state, including National Capital Territory of Delhi and Union Territory of Pondicherry. So, even the legislative assembly members of different states also are the part of electoral college, as well as the territories, certain territories, which are ruled by the center, like we have Delhi and Union territories. From these particular territories also, the ministers can give vote for the election of the president, and they are also the part of electoral college. Now, nominated members of the either house of the parliament and state assemblies are not eligible to be included in the electoral college. Nominated members, that means there are few members in the centers as well as in the state level. Let me give an example of this central level. Like for the Rajya Sabha, 12 members are elected by the president, and also 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community are elected by the president. So these 14 members are not included in the electoral college. Now let us talk about the procedure of the, we call the nomination of the candidate. A presidential candidate will have to be proposed by 50 members of the electoral college. So electoral college will give a name of a particular candidate who will be contesting for the presidency election, and the second group of 50 members, they will stand in support of that particular, we call the 50 members who have given the names for a particular candidate for the election of the presidency. Earlier the requirement was 10 proposers and 10 seconders. This was increased by the ordinance promulgated in June 1997 that became an act of Parliament on August 29, 1997. The ordinance also raised the security deposit of a candidate for the presidential election. So, each candidate who is contesting for the presidential election, he has to deposit a certain amount of money as a security, we call the security money. So earlier this was 2,500, but later it became 15,000. So the election of the president is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, and the voting as such election is by a secret ballot. So each member of the electoral college give one vote in support of different candidates. Now let us go to the another particular point, that is reasons for the indirect election. Why the president of the country is elected indirectly? If the president was to be elected directly by the people, he could become a rival we call center of power to the council of minister. So if president will be elected directly by the people of the country, then there will be a fight for the central power between president as well as the council of minister and the prime minister. Next one, since the membership in the two houses of the parliament was likely to be dominated by one party, so the membership of the two houses in the parliament is dominated by one ruling party. So election of the president merely a majority of members of union parliament could make him a nominee of the ruling party like prime minister. So prime minister and so on, they give the name of a particular person who would be contesting from the for the presidency. So from both the opposition as well as the ruling party, the candidates are selected for the presidency election. So this way we can say that the candidates names also are we call selected by the ruling party members as well as the opposition party members. So in that way we can say that president is indirectly elected or nominated by the parliament members. Number 3, the president is elected by an electoral college. Okay, in India, the electoral college consists of elected members of the two houses of the parliament and the legislative assembly of the state. Okay, such an electoral college would make a president the elected representatives of whole nation with a clear voice given to the state as well. Another point, it is not mentioned why the president is elected indirectly. If president will be elected directly, then there will be a huge expense of money will be done. That means huge amount of money will be spent behind after the president of the country. So and also it will be a time taking. It will take a lot of time for the election of the president. So that could be the another reason that president is not elected directly. Now let us talk about term of office. The president shall hold office for a term of 5 years for the date on which he enters upon his office. So president works being in the position for 5 years, being in a post for 5 years. He shall continue to hold office, okay, notwithstanding the expiry of his term until his successor takes charge. So he will be remaining in the post till the new president is elected. Now let us go to procedure for the impeachment of the president. Impeachment, the removal of the president, how he is removed from the post. When a president is to be impeached for the violation of the constitution, so mainly the president is removed from the post when he is found violating the constitution of the country. So either house of the parliament can label the charge as follows. So any house of the parliament, either we can say Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, can we call the put a charge against the president in the houses. A resolution which is moved after at least 14 days notice in writing signed by not less than one-fourth of the total members of the house. So from the date when he was found as a we call the culprit or we call the guilty, from the date when the president is found guilty or a culprit from that day onwards up to the 14 days, he should be given notice in writing, as well as it should be supported by 1/4 of the total members of the house. Number B, the resolution is passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total members of the house. And the resolution and we call the complaint, let us say the complaint which has arisen in both the houses must be passed by the majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the house. Number 2, when a charge has been so preferred serious, when the case or the issue has been so serious, then by the either house of the parliament, the other house will investigate the charge, and the president has the right to appear and to be represented at such an investigation. So if any house, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, have found that president is guilty and he has done wrong, he has misused his power against the constitution, law and order, then if Lok Sabha members have charged against the president, then the Rajya Sabha members will investigate about that charge which is imposed against the president. And when there is an investigation going on, at the time president has to be present during the investigation. Number 3, if as a result of the investigation a resolution is passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership, if as a result of the investigation, that investigation is over now and the complaint is passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the house, by which the charge was investigated, declaring that the charge has been sustained. Charge has been sustained means that has been proved that the president is found doing mistake or found violating the constitution, and if that is proved, then such a resolution will have the effect of removing the president from his office. So this is the way of removing the president from his post. Now, power of the President of India, executive power. The executive power of the president includes, executive power means power to issue the orders. Number 1, head of the union administration. So president is the head of the central administration. All executive orders are issued in the name of president. All the orders, the government orders are issued in the nation in the name of the president. All the union officials are his subordinates, and all the union officers are his assistants, we call. Number 2, appointment of the official of the states. The president makes appointment to key posts to run the government's administration. So president also has been given the power as the executive power to appoint the high dignitaries of the country, such as the prime minister and the council of ministers on the prime minister's advice. So he appoints prime minister and the council of ministers on the advice of the prime minister. He summons the leader of the majority group in the parliament and asks him to form the government. And president, as an executive power, he asks the particular leader of the majority group to form the government in the center. Number B, he has the power to appoint chief justice and judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court. Next, C, he has the power to appoint the governors of the different states. D, he also has the executive power to appoint lieutenant governors and the chief commissioners of the union territories. Number E, he also has the power to appoint Attorney General of India. F, the Controller and Auditor General of India. Number G, the chairman and the member of the Union Public Service Commission, which we call UPS, where the high ranking we call the officers are appointed for the civil services as well as for the we call the police service. H, the chairman and the member of the planning commission. So there are so many planning commission in this country, so he appoints the chairman of these all planning commissions. Number I, the chairman and the members of the economic commission whenever appointed. Number 3, control over state government. So as executive power of the president, he controls the state government. The union government may give necessary directions to the state. During presidential rule, the control of union government over state is complete. Number 4, union territories and border areas. The administration of the union territories and the border areas is the responsibility of the president. So even he is in charge of the union territories as well as to see the border areas, we call the powers. So dear students, today we will discuss up to this point. Thank you all.